Mm.
But my own health issues. So I've had PCOS. I had PCOS since my teenage years, which is basically a pre-diabetic condition. And
Okay.
infertility and all of those kinds of problems, thyroid issues, autoimmunity, rheumatoid arthritis. I mean, I was very, very sick in my teenage years and in my 20s. And that kind of prompted me to go down this path. And except for modern medicine, which is allopathic medicine, all other forms of medicine, they have this one philosophy in common that the body, we have an innate intelligence that is driven by the spirit. And that innate intelligence knows how to fix itself. And it is always looking to balance. But our choices sometimes go against it because of our unconsciousness, because of our disconnection from spirit, from a higher power. We begin to live life in a manner that is contrary to life itself. And that's what causes disease.
Mm.
So it doesn't matter what your diagnosis is. It is really about reorienting the spirit and your alignment with who you truly are. That is fundamental to healing from any disease. So then all this confusion will go away. Why do we have taste buds? Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just that the diabetes now, I was discharged from the hospital about 3 weeks ago.
From? For what reason were you in the hospital?
Recording in progress.
So, see, I just want to mention that this will be available on online. So, I don't want you to divulge too much of your personal health information because it will be.
It's not a problem. Thank you, Will, for mentioning that. It's see, this is something that really causes me to be quite dismayed. I was given so many reasons. Just like it may be the diabetes. I passed out in my home, and when I came to, I called 911 at my brother's urging because I thought, oh my God, you haven't been eating at all well. You ate very little today. Maybe that's why you passed out. And my sister-in-law, she has a naturopathic a business, and she was speaking to him over his shoulder, saying, "But if she passed out, what's going on? It's not just her not eating a meal or not having eaten a lot lately. She has to go to the hospital." But so they're saying your blood sugar level is very high. It was high for me. It was 334. But we also see signs. They did an MRI of my brain, and then one doctor said, "Oh, there's signs that you may have had an incident, like a stroke, that wasn't diagnosed." And then I mentioned this to another doctor, and she says, "You can't see a stroke on an MRI." So I'm just really tired of getting so many answers and no trustworthy information. So I still, yes, my blood sugar was really high, but that did not account for the extreme weakness that I experienced afterward. I went to a physical rehab for 2 weeks after that in order to try to get my strength back because I just I felt heavy. I felt as if I couldn't even keep my feet. And that was nothing like my health was prior to me like passing out. So I'm not sure about any of this, but I need better answers.
I agree. And, obviously I won't be able to go into, thank you for sharing what your recent struggles, but that, what you're going through, it requires a more in-depth consultation.
Absolutely.
And complete read of everything that is happening. So, go ahead and, if what I present resonates with you, then let's have a private conversation. and then we can see what to do. But I'll share my philosophy, and hopefully that can give you some answers.
Looking forward to hearing it.
Thank you. Welcome, Cheryl. I think we typically wait a couple more minutes. And for the sake of this meeting, I would request everyone to mute yourselves. And video is your personal choice, but we will be sharing this on social media platforms, so this is not private by any means. But if you feel comfortable turning on the videos, it's entirely up to you. When it is time to ask questions, I will invite you to unmute yourself. And yeah. One more minute and we'll get started. And please stay handy with your chat box, because I'll be asking some questions. So Cheryl, tell us where you're from. You can type it in the chat box. Or you can, yeah. So,
Hi.
Hi.
I live in Muskego.
Oh, close by. Muskego in Wisconsin, right?
Oh, yes, I didn't realize we could be further than Wisconsin, but yes, Muskego, Wisconsin.
Yeah. I mean, some of the names, I find them in other states as well. So, but yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
Introduction. First of all, thank you all for sharing this hour with me. I am Dr. Aruna Nami. I go by Dr. Aruna. I am a holistic psychiatrist, which means that I do have an MD in psychiatry, adult psychiatry, and I'm also a fellow in geriatric psychiatry. My early education in medicine as well as in psychiatry was in India. I come from India, but I've been living in the US, and this has become my home now for 20 plus years now. My upbringing in India did give me more of a holistic background. Even my medical education was more holistic back in India. Psychiatry education too. If I did not do a proper physical and neurological exam, my psychiatric evaluation was considered incomplete. But when I came here to the US, to my shock, what I saw was the divorce between mind and body was absolutely final. In fact, to the extent that, out of my training and my habit, in the beginning, when I would try to evaluate patients for their, do a neuro exam or do a physical exam, my attendings here actually asked me to not touch the patient because that was medical legal liability. And it bothered me because what we think of as psychiatric illnesses are not happening. See, the mind is ethereal. Mind is a secondary construct that comes from the brain and the body. And to understand whatever is happening with the mind, we have to be aware of what is happening with our brains and with our bodies. And that is the focus of the physical examination, the labs and other investigations, and also the neurological examination. So that I felt very incomplete in my residency. And as soon as I was able to practice independently in the hospital, I thought that, I started to become more of that holistic physician, but I didn't even know what was holistic until I actually studied functional medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. And that blew my mind open. And I began to realize many truths, and that is what I'm here to share. For this month, I decided to talk about anxiety. Why not anxiety? I mean, just look at what is happening in the world. We've been bombarded with so much of information and none of it for our good. On the one hand, Epstein files. We are being bombarded daily with something or the other about some person or the other. It doesn't matter whether you're right or left or red or blue or center, it doesn't matter. There's so much of chaos that has been created, which creates a sense of danger all around us. And of course, the Iran war, the Ukraine war, there's so much of chaos. And it's not that it does not affect us. Gas prices have gone up. I mean, here in Wisconsin, I'm paying $4 per gallon if I go to Costco. Otherwise, it's a little bit higher than that. So there is a real sense of danger and lack of safety around us. So it's very, very natural for us to feel anxiety in these circumstances. However, what I'm going to talk about is one, what to do even in these kinds of situations, but also there is the anxiety that is more pathological, where there is nothing in the environment that dictates for us to feel that level of anxiety, but we are still feeling that. And even this anxiety, as I will show, is on the rise. So, and before we start, I do want to mention a request that some of the material, I mean, this whole, it's copyrighted to my business, but there is also some things that I'm sharing here that are copyrighted with other businesses, other entities, that I have permission to use even in formats like this, but that copyright permission is not transferable. And hence I request people to not record in any manner. You can take notes, of course, but don't record it on your phone. Don't try to download, none of that. Some of it will be made available online. Whatever is possible, we will be sharing with you guys. I just had to give that because it's not even my copyrighted material. It's somebody else's, another business's. So having said that, let's begin, Rochelle. Next slide, Rochelle. So what is anxiety? It's a sense of uneasiness, nervousness, queasiness, fear, even excessive shyness. And the thing about anxiety, and depression too has physical and psychological symptoms, but I think in an anxiety disorder, it's even more prominent. Anxiety symptoms are always accompanied with more physical, the body's involvement in the form of racing heart, sweaty palms, dry mouth, feeling frozen in general, not able to speak easily. And psychologically, a very common symptom is the sense of constant dread or acute attacks of intense panic, a sense of impending doom. And outside of this anxiety, there is the preoccupation with another anxiety attack happening, or preoccupation with negative events or situations happening to us, all kinds of fears. That's what the mind seems to be preoccupied with. Along with it, there's going to be impaired sleep, low appetite, brain fog, fatigue. All of these symptoms can all happen. But is it truly a disease? Or can we view this as an alarm signal from our body, mind, and soul? So I want to expand a little bit on this. The reason why I have come to view, especially anxiety as an alarm signal, is because it has to do with our internal nervous system, especially our amygdala, which is really the part of the brain that helps us assess our environment, both internal as well as external environment. And the job of the amygdala is to raise a signal, an alarm signal, when something is off, when there is danger. And we see this in the animal world all the time. A gazelle that is being chased by a predator, it is manifesting all of the symptoms that I've just expressed above, especially the physical symptoms, mainly the physical symptoms. We recognize that as a fight or flight reaction. But as soon as that gazelle escapes from its predator and goes to grazing or drinking water or going back into its herd, all of that physiological symptoms go away. And I can bet that no gazelle is going through having memories or flashbacks of being chased or looking out for another tiger lurking in the safe environment. That is the original job of the amygdala that we also have. However, because of her capacity to hold memory, to process our life in different ways, and also to manipulate information mentally. So basically, we have a frontal lobe, and what has happened is that we are now able to internalize whatever danger that was in our external world, and we can internalize it. And when we internalize it, it can be as real as it is happening even in the present moment. And I think this is what unfortunately separates us from the animal kingdom, and this is what trips us up. Next slide, Rochelle. I think there's a little bit of a delay. Rochelle, can you advance to the next slide, please? Wanted to just share some statistics as well. And there is a clear separation from pre-COVID and post-COVID. Like before COVID, the number of adults was about 15.6% to 18.2%, and especially adults between the ages of 18 to 40, it was under 20%. But in the same age group, we are seeing that it has risen to almost 40%. And what are the reasons for that? Definitely the world going through the pandemic and the pandemic policies where our basic freedoms were taken away from us, the isolation from each other, isolation from nature. We needed permission to even step out of our home. So many things that we took for granted, like traveling wherever we wanted to, all of that, there was so much of chaos that was created, and a necessary normal response to so much of chaos is actually anxiety in us, because our sense of safety and security was suddenly taken away from us. And many of these neurotic illnesses, we do see more in women. And the mainstream treatment is with antidepressants, which are serotonin reuptake inhibitors mainly. They modulate the serotonin system. Some of them modulate the dopamine and the norepinephrine system as well. But the other big mainstay in psychiatric treatment for anxiety is anti-anxiety meds. Some of them are medications like hydroxyzine and Benadryl, which are antihistamines, which can reduce anxiety. They cause sedation, but they also have other side effects, especially chronic use has been linked to dementia because it reduces the cholinergic activity in the brain, which has been tied to Alzheimer's disease. And of course, the big chunk of treatment is with benzodiazepines, which are highly addictive, also linked to dementia. They cause a whole host of problems. And with all of these interventions with medications, and even with therapy, we are told that anxiety is something to be managed. We can reduce the intensity of it. You learn to cope with it. But really, the concept of cure and healing it for good is not entertained. Next slide, Rochelle. And the outcomes, what we see with the mainstream treatment is really more episodes, more disability, more medications, more comorbid illnesses. And the big reason why is because the idea that there could be root causes contributing to these syndromes is not at all entertained or taught in mainstream psychiatry. The only root cause that is peddled is chemical imbalance, but in reality, there is no chemical imbalance that causes any mental health condition. And there is no chemical imbalance that is causing anxiety. And how do we know that? Because in some studies, it's too much serotonin. In other studies, it's too less serotonin. We see both. And what it really means is that our brain does not stay in one state. For instance, it's not only making too much serotonin in one person or only not making enough serotonin. It is in real time responding to internal and external cues all the time. And when you do these kinds of tests in these study populations, you're only looking at a snapshot of time. In that moment when the blood was drawn, in that person, maybe they had elevated serotonin or maybe they had depressed serotonin. And then we are told that situation, that snapshot of time exists for extended periods. No logic there. It does not make sense. Next slide, please. And the meds are actually designed to treat something that does not even exist. So, what causes anxiety? And here, I came up with this hypothesis. I'm completely owning it. This hypothesis came up from my training in functional medicine as well as in Ayurvedic medicine and working with patients. So, what I learned in functional medicine and Ayurveda, I started to apply to my patients in my private practice. And then I began to see clear patterns emerge. And our human brain likes to organize things because organization reduces chaos and it makes for predictability and repeatability. So, from this process of organizing the information that I was observing, I realized that there were only 3 root causes, which is number 1 is diet and lifestyle. What this refers to is how we are taking care of ourselves, what we are doing to ourselves. Number 2 is trauma, especially early life psychosocial trauma. Can be physical trauma as well. Head injuries, without a doubt, can give rise to anxiety syndromes. In fact, even DSM-5 recognizes organic anxiety syndromes, where head injuries are the number 1 cause for that. But I'm specifically talking about the soft trauma that can happen in our early life, which gives rise to the subconscious programming that then dictates how we operate in life. It is that subconscious programming by society, by our family, that tends to undermine our sense of who we are, our sense of worth, that gives rise to this constant sense of inner dread, not knowing who you are. When we lack that stability, when we are not rooted in ourselves, it gives rise to this kind of instability and chaos, which again, our brain interprets as something to be afraid of. And the third one is toxins. This is toxins that are inside our body, sometimes generated by our own body. So when we are in this constant state of fear and dread, we make a lot of cortisol, which can be toxic. And of course, environmental toxins, from the makeup that we wear to the toothpaste, the laundry detergent, the pesticides that are being sprayed, not just you may use them in your homes, in your backyards, but it's definitely being sprayed in the state parks and in the national parks, where we go take our children to play, we go for a walk, and even if you're eating organic food, you still get exposed to a lot of these things. And these toxins then cause inflammation, which can, when it reaches the brain, can cause neuroinflammation. So I started to observe this pattern, and then when I started to approach patients with this framework, I was able to completely understand a person's presentation without missing anything. And this framework helped me to come up with a protocol, including labs and supplements and all of that. And the structure to what I do really came from this foundational framework. And it's easy to remember: diet and lifestyle, trauma, and toxins. So trauma is what happens to us in our early life, and then toxins is how the environment is affecting us. So all of these things ultimately trigger our alarm system, that there is some sort of a danger within us or around us. So that danger within us could be too much cortisol. It could be endogenous toxins made by a deranged microbiome. So if you have overgrowth of bad bacteria and bad fungus, especially mycotoxins, if you are loaded with the black fungus, it's called aspergillus, or if you're consuming processed food that has synthetic citric acid, which, if you don't know, is actually made from black fungus. And there are studies that link exposure to that synthetic citric acid to inflammation in the body, including neuroinflammation. So if you have mycotoxins because of the microbiome, or because you're ingesting foods or any of these toxins through all the different ways that we get exposed to, that could be triggering off your amygdala, that sense of danger. And what should we do then? When there is real danger lurking, just shutting it off with medications is not the way to go about it. You try to shut it off. It's like trying to, shut my mouth. What's going to happen? I'm going to try to find other ways of speaking out, getting my voice out. And folks, anxiety is really not, any disease. I really don't like to think of it as disease. It's an imbalance. But the symptoms are not disease, it's our body's intelligence alerting us that something is off. And in fact, many of these symptoms that our body makes, from an Ayurvedic lens, Ayurveda tells us that these symptoms are actually trying to mitigate the original root cause, either by making us do things differently. Like, for instance, if you're in a panic, what do? We shallow breathe, right? And when we shallow breathe, we tend to feel dizzy. And so what are we told to do? You take deep, calming breaths. So the symptom of shallow breathing eventually leads to deep breathing, which will then abort the anxiety. So this process is actually the body's intelligence. And if we pay attention to that and give what our body needs, we will find healing. Next slide, please. So when we address these root causes, healing is inevitable, even for chronic and severe anxiety. Okay? But we still find that not everyone is able to achieve healing. So let's see why that is. Erica, Rochelle, please go forward. Rochelle, next slide, please. I wanted to show a couple of patient stories, and we will share the detailed information about. So in the first patient, she had OCD and also OCD with psychosis. Here, the second patient is also OCD. And I randomly picked both these patients. I've worked with people with panic disorder, social anxiety disorder. Generalized anxiety is actually very common. And the other big anxiety disorder, in fact, the most common anxiety disorder that I diagnose people with is actually chronic PTSD. Majority of my patients, I can see that it's coming from that soft trauma that has happened either in their early life or ongoing trauma that they're continuing to experience. Next slide, please. And as I said, we will send you an email with the links to these articles and these videos, so you should be able to go through them on your own. So both of these patients that I've shown experienced complete healing of their disease. One of them was actually the woman was struggling with her anxiety and delusions and hallucinations for close to 7 years. And within 1 year, she was able to experience complete healing. The gentleman that you saw, his illness was almost 17 to 20 years long before he started to work with me. And he had been on so many medications. Both of them were on so many different medications. But when we worked together and I started to address their root causes in both of them, not only did their mind and spirit heal, but also they were able to heal from chronic conditions. Like in the woman's case, the pictures actually show her rosacea. She had very severe rosacea, which was a sign of the autoimmunity that was going on. It was the same autoimmunity that was causing her mental illness as well. And when the body healed, when her autoimmunity healed, her anxiety also went away. So that's the thing. Like in mainstream psychiatry, we see that, when you take these medications, you can develop diabetes, or you can develop heart conditions, or you can develop microbiome disturbances. And we are told that's the payoff. To be somewhat managed from our anxiety, the payoff is that we are going to develop these other diseases. That is not healing. True healing heals the whole mind, body, spirit system in tandem. So my goal today is to show how these people got healthy, to show you the solutions, because if they can do it, so can you. Next slide, Rochelle. Rochelle? Okay. Rochelle, as soon as I come towards the end of the slide, please go ahead and move the slide, because we're running out of time here. So basically what I do in the intake evaluation is that both me and if you also are able to work with the Ayurvedic doctor, we will map out your specific DTT factors. And then we will recommend number one is the labs, because we have to, it's not just about a hypothesis. We are going to get the relevant labs to make sure that we are on the right track and to fine tune all of our recommendations. And these labs, you will be able to access them either from my website or on the link tree on my Instagram page. I think Rochelle is working on it. It should be ready pretty soon. And for some of these labs, I've been able to negotiate a 10% discount. So use code Trinergy. So one is with Function Health. It is the most comprehensive blood work that will give me all the information that I'm looking for. Your nutritional status, your hormones, your inflammation, kidney status, liver status, so, and also iron panel. So important for us women that we take care of our ferritin levels, iron levels, and make sure that all of those things are in good order. And of course, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, sex hormones is also very important. Then the functional medicine test, DNA methylation panel, absolutely necessary, because certain genetic polymorphisms, they are not gene defects, they're just genes that have a slightly different structure to them, and so their functioning differs. But if you have any of these polymorphisms, it can significantly impair the synthesis of neurotransmitters. It can impair your detoxification abilities. Regulation of your immune system can be off. But knowing what these polymorphisms are, we can actually implement certain vitamins and nutrients to actually bypass these gene defects so that your cells can start to function normally again. And that can be hugely beneficial for recovering from any disease. I look for mycotoxins because I find them very, very common. And when we find them, the treatment also depends on what we find. So, there are specific interventions that I might recommend depending on the extent of mycotoxins. And also with the oat tells us whether the mycotoxin is coming from, say, food exposure, you're imbibing the toxins, or whether you actually have gut dysbiosis, that is, so you're making the toxins inside your body. So that will help us, again, it will inform the kind of treatment. And finally, post-COVID era, we have to look for spike protein antibodies. We have to see whether it's coming from, Rochelle, you can move to the next slide. We have to see whether that is coming from the long haul COVID-like situation, or whether you're having lingering spike protein from a vaccine that you may have taken even years ago. Studies now are showing us that after the last dose of the COVID vaccine, spike protein can persist almost 2 years later. Now, we don't know if it can persist beyond that because those studies have not yet been done. But the one study that I saw, they followed up, they looked for spike protein persistence in vaccinated subjects for up to 700 days, and they were able to find that it persisted. Now, why this is important? Because spike protein is extremely inflammatory. Yeah, it does. Whatever the logic was, I'm not going to go there. But if you have persisting spike protein and if your immune system is not able to clear it off, then that spike protein can give rise to inflammation in your blood vessels. So, which means that any organ in your body can get affected, including the brain, and that can cause an increase in anxiety syndromes and other neuropsychiatric syndromes. But so we have to look at all of this because it's not just about turning the alarm off. Before we turn the alarm off, whether it's by a supplement or whatever, or even with breathing techniques, I'm not going to ask you to just do a breath work without first figuring out why your alarm went off, because we have to address that. So and when we address why the alarm went off, we will be naturally creating safety in your nervous system, in your body, mind, soul, and in the environment. And I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek because there is a war that's going, yes, it's happening in the world, but we are beginning to see some of the trickle effects indirectly in the form of, our economy getting affected. So there is chaos, there is some sense of this danger around us, even though we are living so far away from those areas. In that instance, yes, we have to still bring safety within ourselves first. Everything else, I'll say we have to do both, address the root cause as well as create safety intentionally. But in these kinds of things where we have very little control over the environment, we can still create safety within us. And conversely, by creating that individual safety, which can happen only through meditation and breath work, We are having the power individually and collectively to raise the consciousness of this world. And who knows, it is that collective action that can put an end to the war as well. So that's why everything that I said in the previous slide, the assessment part is very important, because we have to address the root causes before we turn the alarm off. But one thing, there are certain things that you can still do. So I will be sharing that with you. Next slide, please. So then let me ask you a question. So get handy with the chat box. What is your number one hurdle that you see that's stopping you from healing from your anxiety? Just take a minute and drop your answers in the chat. I have my chat box open, so I'll be able to see. You're unsure? Okay, Cheryl. So, okay, that's fine. Well, let me share what I find, the typical hurdles that people find. Let's go, Rochelle, move to the next slide, please. So the fundamental reason that I see that people are stuck in, see your physical health, yeah, that's a big one. So some of the reasons that I find that people are stuck in anxiety or illness is really what limiting beliefs that we have. So any belief that you could be operating, any belief that's lurking in your subconscious mind that makes you doubt your capacity to heal. For the sake of this presentation, I'm talking about anxiety. So let's say that the hurdle, as C mentioned, her current physical health or illness state is maybe contributing to her anxiety. And if I were to ask her to heal from anxiety, she's probably thinking that, but maybe, what if what if I don't get better? What if my illness I don't heal from my illness? And that belief of not being able to heal from your physical health is directly tied into your belief in healing from anxiety as well. And thank you, Rebecca. So you know that your spike protein is elevated. There are tons of things that we can do. In fact, I have been treating people with persistent spike protein. And again, it is with supplements, with detox, as well as with spiritual psychotherapy, as I call it. All of this is necessary. We have to take some supplements, support our liver, support our kidney to detox the spike protein, and of course, manage our immune system. But at the same time, believing completely in your own body's ability to get rid of the poison is also going to be very important. And there's a process to get there. Next slide, please. Rochelle? So if you recognized any of your limiting beliefs, you can drop that in the chat. So for C, it could be that if you're having anxiety, it could be that until my physical health improves, I cannot get better. My anxiety will not go away, which is true in a way. Okay. Let me share some of the limiting beliefs that I find when I work with patients. Some people actually have told me that they've tried everything and so healing is hard for them. They have not been successful. So the belief is that it's going to be hard. It takes time. Or my disease is unique. So when you come across people that have actually healed from exactly the same condition that you've had, but your subconscious belief could say, oh, it worked for them, it may not work for me because my disease is, I'm too sick, or my disease is more complex or complicated. People have not been able to figure it out. These are all nothing but beliefs that you're giving attention and intention to. I have too many problems. Again, complex, complicated. Next slide, Rochelle. Keep going, Rochelle. I don't have support. Sometimes this is true. Sometimes, but actually I will challenge you on that. Even when you feel that you don't have any support, I can guarantee that you can still find some form of support in your life. And it is about, so that's the process that I teach, is about what are you paying attention? What are you, to what narrative are you giving your precious attention to? So Cheryl, you said it feels impossible to determine the root cause. It is, it can get confusing, and that's why I came up with, see, any root cause, any subject can become confusing. When we try to break it down into too many things, we do need that organization. And in working this way for over 8 years now, I can tell you that the DTT framework encompasses all the root cause. And it's not that some people have only diet and lifestyle, some people have only trauma, and some people have only toxins. That's not what I find. I find that everybody comes in with a combination of all three, and all three have to be addressed. This is what I do. I don't see myself getting better. That really is a huge one. And all of this is because of your lived experience. I get that. Because of where you are in life, you have interpreted your life as it has unfolded up until this point that you are one of those people that is not going to get better. Next slide, Rochelle. But let me ask you this. Why do you think, I think I kind of gave it away. We get these beliefs because of the way we interpret how life has unfolded for us. But still, if you have any answers to this question, why do you think this way? Go ahead and write in the chat box. But this is my honest to God experience from my own life, as well as in working with many people. What I see is that this is the interpretation that we have learned from our life experiences, from the reality of our life. We have tried many things, but still not better. And your previous doctors may have told you that your illness can only be managed. That is a narrative that exists in mainstream psychiatry. And that is a big reason why many people think that when they get labeled with a psychiatric diagnosis, it is for life. Because that is what I was taught as a psychiatrist in the mainstream. That is what every other psychiatrist in the mainstream is taught. The concept of cure is not entertained at all. So no wonder that patients, when you hear this, then that becomes your reality, that becomes your perception. In other words, over time, this is what you identify with. And so it's no surprise. People, the personalization of these diagnoses that we see in today's world, it's like, I am schizophrenic, or I am bipolar, or my OCD is acting up, or I'm phobic to whatever. So that is the level of identification with these labels. And the sad part is that all of the diagnoses in DSM 4, 5, whatever the version we are in, I think 6 is coming up now. All of the diagnoses that are listed in DSM-5 do not have empirical or scientific basis for that. It's just a collection of symptoms that a group of men, literally 9 men, heavily funded by pharma, that sat around a table and decided what criteria went in for a particular diagnosis and what criteria did not go in, not based on any empirical study. And don't take my word for it. Dr. James Davies, Davies, he has written many books about this. He has interviewed the people that wrote the different DSMs, and this is exactly what has happened. And he's interviewed, there was, I think, one woman who was originally on that panel, and she was so disappointed with the way the diagnosis, and when she began to criticize and comment, guess what happened? She was kicked out of the panel. I don't know who, I forget her name, but sadly, this is how the DSM diagnosis came into existence. Okay, so ultimately we identify with being a sick person. And so the way out is we have to embody the identity of a healthy person. So the question to ask is, how does a healthy person think, feel, and act? Or in other words, if you were to be healthy, completely healthy in mind, body, and spirit today, how will you be? And so here's what you need to do. And this is a quick rundown. So you have to create safety in your system, right? And to do that, Number one always is to fix the root causes. I'm not, I hope that you understand that that's very important. But the psycho-spiritual steps that need to happen is that number one, become aware of your thoughts. And remember that just because you have a thought or a belief system, it does not always reflect reality. Your thoughts, your beliefs are not reality. Just because you think something, it's not going to happen. It's just the monkey mind doing its business of overprotecting us. Meditation is a must. I've already talked about it. Breath work, very quickly. So I will share one very simple breath work. It's called the left nostril breathing. It's called Chandra Bhedi in pranayama and Ayurveda. Chandra means moon, Bhedi is activation or stimulation. Literally all you need to do this exercise if you are in a panic attack. Don't do it outside of it. And for somebody that is healthy and balanced, we recommend doing this primarily only when it is hot. So in summer months is when we recommend doing the Chandra Bhedi, not in fall and winter, because it cools the body down. And anxiety is seen as an activation of the sympathetic, which heats us up. We all, anybody that goes through panic attack will experience that sense of heat as well. And so this Chandra Bhedi, which is nothing but left nostril breathing, and simply close your right nostril with your right index finger, close your eyes, spine erect, and close your mouth, and deep, controlled breathing in and out. Do this for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Even if you're in a panic attack, it will abort. That's from pranayama, very simple technique. And there are so many other breath work that we can do on a consistent basis that will slowly balance the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems. And when we do that, you will be creating that sense of safety and active relaxation in the body. So really becoming aware when you're in that hustle and grind and bringing in slowness and spaciousness in your body. So after this, if you have time, do it right after this meeting. Just go sit down, lie down, close your eyes, play some light music, and let that music wash over you. Play some meditation music or anything that, not the thing that activates, but something that is going to be more gentle. Instrumental music can be wonderful for this. Listen to the music, close your eyes, really devote all your attention to the music, and focus on your breath. Breathe slowly and deeply. And after some time, with your eyes still closed, run your hands over your arm, your gentle fingers over your face, into your hair. Caress yourself. Feel that safety. Touch yourself. And if it becomes sensual and sexual, totally fine. But this is not even about that. And really, only when you go into that deep state of relaxation will that natural sensuality and sexuality will come up. When you are like this, sensuousness and sexuality, it's difficult. I mean, we all know that, right? So next slide, please. So as I said, ask this question and try to implement that. Little baby steps. Next slide, please. So I hope you're all going to be able to devote at least 15 to 20 minutes a day to choose yourself, because healing starts by choosing you. Next slide, Rochelle. So there is, I'm going to share a 15-minute meditation via email. This is available on YouTube, so I'm going to share that. So this meditation will create HB coherence, that is heart and brain coherence. Normally, when we are in a state of anxiety and hustle and grind, we are leading with our brain. This is dictating what the rest of the body should do. But with this heart-brain coherence, we are going to be leading with the heart. The heart is going to entrain the brain. And why is that possible? Because the vagus nerve, that's the 10th cranial nerve, that starts in the brain stem, and then it goes down the body. It connects the brain with all of the internal organs, the lungs, the heart, the full gastrointestinal system, as well as our sexual organs. Now but the truth about this vagus nerve, it doesn't exist to just carry information from the brain to the internal organs. In fact, 80% of the nerves in the vagus bundle take information from the body to the brain. Majority of it from the heart. So we have the machinery to be able to let our heart lead our brain and our lives. And this process is called heart-brain coherence. And when we shift from a brain-led life to a heart-led life, that is shifting from sympathetic to parasympathetic, and your life is going to be different, not just your health. Next slide, please. So I've been, safety, I've been talking about it, but what is it really, how does it feel to feel safe? I'm going to demonstrate that, but I do have a question. So I'm running late a little, I'm behind schedule. Next slide, Rochelle. I do want to play this meditation. It's a 5-minute track, and I would like for you all to be able to experience that, because you will get to sense, feel what it means to be safe. But I want to be mindful of your time as well. So can you quickly just, there's only 3 people that I can see here today. So would you be able to participate in this, or do you want me to just give you the information? You can just unmute, or you can type in yes. Okay, sounds good. Perfect. All right, so let me go ahead. Next slide. So before I start the meditation, what I want to do is I want you, all of you, whoever is here, to type one word in the chat describing how you're feeling right now. And I don't want you to overthink this. Just whatever, just close your eyes and see how am I feeling. Whatever comes up, type that in. While you do that, I'm going to get the track ready. Okay, so before we start, I want you to sit up straight, back straight, spine erect, close your eyes, and the music is going to play. And I just want you to follow along. Do not overthink, simply just follow along. Do the best that you can. This is the first time I know you are hearing this music. So simply follow along.